Cigarettes take 6 million lives annually. These small, sexy pieces kill, but do not let the next victim be you. Cigarettes have become a popular and controversial topic since their debut on Washington Duke's farm in 1865, to an ad campaign run in 2016 called Truth, Capmageddon, and everything in between. With the rise of a new era and the falling of a previous empire, we see how cigarettes affect people throughout the centuries. The topic of cigarettes is a delicate subject to most, since every year millions of people are affected by cigarettes or tobacco abuse. Something must be done about this deadly killer. Legislation helped people believe that when they were smoking, they were not harming themselves. The History of Tobacco, a website dedicated to showcasing the history of cigarettes, says that Congress passed in 1965 a Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act. The act required companies to change the warning labels every 3 months so people who regularly smoked or addictively smoked knew the risks. This is not the only piece of legislation involved with the dangerous habit. In an article entitled Nixon Signs Legislation, it says that before this 1965 Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act, Nixon passed the Public Health Cigarette Smoking Act in the year 1970. The act banned any cigarette commercials from airing after that year expired. And as a sentimental goodbye to the huge marketing act, the final cigarette ad aired on December 31st, 1970 at 11:50 p.m., just in time to ring in a new year. Either it would be so different from the previous years. Before cigarette promotional advertisements were outlawed, they were strongly impacted, and they strongly impacted the consumer. A New York Times article shares that from 1920 to 1950, doctors, athletes, and even Santa Claus endorsed cigarettes. These people claimed that they benefited one's health. An article from the American Journal of Public Health says that Camel used doctors to promote their brand in 1946 by claiming that more doctors use Camel than any other cigarettes. This is just one technique that companies would use in the 1900s to promote their brand. Another technique that companies used was claiming that they had a fresh filter to create a better, more fresh, smoky taste. They also used beautiful women to attract men to the ads. They would balance those out by placing rugged men with the products in their mouths to bring women to their brand. In the time from 1950 to 2015, the advertising game changed drastically. In an article from the Wild database called Tobacco Ads Manipulate People into Smoking, it says that cigarette advertisements in 2002 from the brand Capri were very carefully crafted to help you believe that cigarettes are good for a person and that they can be an alternative medication to classical prescription drugs. The article says that Capri helped smokers believe that smoking could be used as a form of therapy and it will soothe the soul and one's very being. The advertisement stated that the cigarettes relax, refresh, and retreat, and vow a beautifully refreshed inner self. When a person lights a cigarette, they are immersed into a world teeming with various scents, this article shares. This type of campaign is almost indistinguishable from commercials from the 1950s that promised the fresh scent of menthol and a fresh new filter. The advertisements before 2009 were set upon the idea that smoking was refreshing and not harmful to people. However, as the years passed from 2002 to 2009, the game drastically changed, and cigarette advertisements became anti-smoking commercials and advertisements. It is important to analyze when this shift occurred because it signals an awakening of the American society. The American Legacy Foundation in 2009 ran an ad campaign called Think, Don't Smoke, and was actually found to increase smoking in teenagers. The Marlboro commercial began with a young teenage girl in a small cafe. The woman is called over by a rugged boy about the same age as her, and as she approaches and sits down, he reaches for a box of cigarettes and begins tapping them onto his hand. She immediately compares this to the image of an ape and is disgusted by his primordial behavior. The advertisements were found to increase teenage smoking. The American Legacy Foundation found that teenagers reacted more positively to their own Getting to the Truth, Assessing Youth's campaign, and not the Think, Don't Smoke advertisements. The claim from this large corporation is that anti-smoking advertisements are an intentional trick on young adults, saying that the words they use can be tricky to analyze and difficult to comprehend. Cheryl Helton, CEO of ALF, the American Legacy Foundation, says that by creating these ads, the industry claims to be trying to help our nation's youth by saying that the ads are directed at discouraging smoking, but have the opposite effect. The Tips from a Former Smoker ad campaign was at the forefront in March of 2002, We've all seen these commercials where a man would be attempting to do daily activities like shaving his own neck, but would struggle to get around the devices attached to his larynx. Furthermore, women find that watching these advertisements are difficult because they can't relate to the people who are in their 40s and their 50s. The young people watching these advertisements don't feel affected by these. Moreover, in the year 2016, anti-smoking advertisements became tailored to teenagers, definitely because of the outrageous teenage smoking rate in that year. 3 million teenagers smoke in high school, and big tobacco companies are looking to eliminate this problem. It's too early as of right now to tell if the newest form of the anti-cigarette campaign is eliminating this problem. The American Legacy Foundation devised an advertisement they called Catmageddon. This revolutionary campaign has an avant-garde stance on a long-standing issue. The internet is fueled by cat videos, and because cigarettes can kill cats too, we're freaking out, and so should you. That's what's on their promotional campaigns. The Truth Ad campaign is a branch off of the American Legacy Foundation, which spent $28 million over the past 70 years on counter-marketing and communications. The American Legacy Foundation has been involved in more than just Catmageddon, however. The most recent campaign, in my opinion, is ill-advised. To fix the problem, campaign artists need to provide people with a commercial that shows the seriousness of the act, not a joke and introducing cats. In conclusion, commercials in the 1920s were supportive of the addictive habit until the Nixon administration took initiative and had legislation passed so that it made commercials no longer able to be aired. Years after this, the commercials became all about health promotion. Advertisements created by big corporations in 1946 told people that doctors and athletes choose Camel over any other cigarette brand. Capri came out with packaging that told people of the herbal benefits of smoking and that their cigarettes were better than others. After this, in 2009, Marlboro came out with the Think Don't Smoke Act campaign that was ineffective and even raised smoking rates. The ads that have been recently come out with are supporting the stopping of smoking in young teenagers. And one day I believe that we will find the secret to creating an anti-tobacco ad that will prevent all ages and social groups from picking up the dirty habit.